December 17th, 2024, Board of Education regular meeting at 7:01, and I have a roll call.
Mrs. Theodore? Here. Mrs. McPhillips? Here. Mrs. Erbach Barfield? Mrs. Deck? Here. Mrs. Lala? Here. Mr. Berardi?
Here.
Mr. Trubuzzi?
Here. We have a quorum. Let's stand for the pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mission statement. The mission of the North School District 80 is inspiring educational excellence and nurturing society. Celebrate the success.
Yes, thank you. So we would like to just take a moment to celebrate some student growth here this evening. So we recently had all of our students here to complete the middle of the year high-rating diagnostic assessments. And some of the students that we're going to celebrate tonight were students who made the most growth in their grade level in both math and reading. On the I-rating diagnostic, when we take that comparison from the beginning of the year to the middle of the year. So we'll start with math. So if I call your name, you can come on up. Aiden, kindergarten. In first grade, Tatiana. Maybe we're not able to. Oh, yes. And then in second grade, Andrew Day. In third grade, we have David P. And fourth grade, Ole. And then looking into our reading growth in kindergarten, Yeva. In first grade, Arena. Second grade, Ariana. Third grade, Damien. And fourth grade, Ruby. So, so what's really important here is this measures their growth from the beginning of the year to the middle of the year. And this shows that all of you have really been putting in a lot of hard work. And we want you to come here and say we're really proud of all the hard work that you put in. And then up there, there's this fun little graphic that says keep going and keep growing. Because if you guys keep putting forth that work, that's the most important. Keep trying every day and keep growing. Thank you for coming, and I'm going to ask our Board of Education if you can come up and take a photo. And also just want to point out that all of the students up here also were given 2 tickets to the Brookfield Zoo, so hopefully you can take a little
very much for attending. You certainly are welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting, but we do understand if you'd like to be Thank you.
So while we're transitioning, I would like to celebrate the Giles Band. They did an amazing job for our holiday performance, both our cadet and concert band. They also had a bake sale and raised $377 for the program, so that's exciting news. So thank you.
Any other success in this celebration? Consider a motion to approve the agenda as presented. Can I get a motion? Lauren, Marina, roll call.
Mrs. Turbine Barfield. Mrs. Lala. Yes. Mrs. Theodore. Yes. Mrs. McPhillips.
Yes.
Mrs. Jack.
Yes.
Mr. Berardi.
Yes.
Mrs. Trujillo.
Yes. Motion passes. Recognition of visitors. We got one visitor, thank you. Correspondence and public participation. Employee request, there was one, you can review it. It's published. Administrative reports. Superintendent, Mrs. Tucson.
Thank you. I just have one quick report, and the rest are in my discussion this night. I received a phone call earlier today from Dr. Susan Knight, who was a superintendent here previously in the district. So when I began in the district, Richard Green was the superintendent, then after him was Susan Knight. Dr. Knight is residing currently right now in Door County. So she opens her door and sees the water. How exciting that is for her. And she has decided to make a donation to the district. I don't know the amount at this point, but she really wanted to have me share with you how wonderful her years were in the district and how special Norwich School District 80 is to her and in her heart still today, and that she thinks about us often. She even read off some things she's watched on the website to me, so she's keeping track of things. So she is going to be sending a donation to the district in January, so I'll keep you apprised of that when it comes in. But really exciting to hear from her. She's very happy about the work we've been doing in the district and the transparency that we have shown, and she feels that she can trust us to use her dollars in a responsible way to move forward the education of the Norwich students. So very exciting. Really nice. Just want to share that with you, since that was not part of my just call today.
To special education, Mr. Masters.
Yeah, just a couple quick notes. One is that I'm actually very excited to welcome back Ms. Lori O'Connell. She will be temporarily serving as our physical therapist for at least the month of December. Unfortunately, Ms. Heather Levy had to step back for a while, but we're very excited. Many welcome backs. A lot of students are very excited to see her and continue their work with her, and that was gross motor development and skill development. In addition to that, we recently just sent out our goal updates commensurate with our trimester ending. So this is just, again, individual goals, how are kids doing, and progressing towards those unique benchmarks for whatever their particular needs may be. We are capping that off with our special education teachers participating in SPED Data Days, which is just, again, a collaboration of if our students are making good growth, we celebrate that, and then if they're not, where do we need to continue to foster that growth? So a lot of good conversations going on that will continue through the new year. So I hope to keep you updated on that. That's everything.
Thank you. Building reports, Giles School, Mr. Bianchi.
At this time, I'd like to highlight our 5th and 6th grade art program. The students are extremely excited and they're doing wonderful projects in arts. I've been up in the classroom a few times and they are really excited about all the great work that they are doing. New this year, Giles will be having an art show, and that will take place on Tuesday, May 6, 2025, and it will be at Giles School in the cafeteria. It will be in conjunction with a spring musical. So we're combining our art and our band program for the community. So we're really excited about that, and that will take place on May 6th. I actually have it at 7. It's actually at 6 because the band concert starts at 7. So we're excited for that. And then I would like to remind everyone that Giles School has an early dismissal this Friday, December 20th at 1:20 p.m. And on behalf of the administration, faculty, and staff of Giles School, I would like to wish the Board of Education a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And for the record, that was just 2, not 3. 2 items.
Thank you.
Lee School, Dr. Ravioli.
Thank you. So just to follow up on our Celebrate the Success, we have completed our middle year assessment. We're currently analyzing that data and setting our intervention groups and whatnot that will all start after the break. And also just want to mention that our first and second graders had a amazing music now last week on the 12th. Snowy Day really went very well, and we're very proud. And I'll leave it at those.
Thank you. Physical reports, Giles School, Mrs. Gula.
Hi, yes, I have 2 reports. 1, in-school suspension in violation of Board Policy 7:199 and 21. And then 3 in-school suspensions in violation of Board Policy 7:197, 9, and 21. And that is all.
Lee School, Mrs. Aaron's.
2 out-of-school suspensions in violation of Board Policy 7:190.
Board committees. Education, nothing to report. Board policies and development. This last month, we had been given section 3 of the 300 to review. This coming month, as of tonight, we were given the section 400 to review this coming month. And we will proceed month by month to get the district policy. Building grounds, facilities plan.
Hello everyone, I don't get to see you very often, but I just come tonight to kind of cover some of the things that we've finished up, some projects and what we're planning on doing in the future. The first slide is our capital funds and life safety balances. So pretty much, we use our capital funds for large type projects and our life safety to complete things on our list of life safety violations or things that need to be upgraded. If you go down to our grant funding, I'll go over first the Stronger Connections grant. We use that money to purchase the hardware for the lock upgrade for our remote access doors. So that's like all the cost of our alarm lock system, minus the labor for it. The next is the school maintenance grant. This year we decided to use that money towards resurfacing and reseal coating certain areas of both schools. Would be the parking lot at Lee, the parkway in front of the school would have the resurfacing. Also the parkways at Giles on both Column and Oriole. And seal coating in certain areas as needed. So what we did with this, when we go to bid it out, we broke it down in zones so that we can kind of cover as much area as we can. And if we don't quite make it to our budget. If you go over budget, we could cut certain areas that don't need it as much now. With our parkways, we've also been in talks with Norwich to see how much money they're willing to kind of chip in on our project for that portion of it. So that's also a reason why we broke it down in zones instead of one large project, is so that they could see what it would cost for those areas and what they would be willing to help out with. I don't know if, Michelle, you want to cover the
Sure.
infrastructure grant?
Yeah, right before our November meeting, I had received some information about the infrastructure grant, which we had signed. It asked again for our signature, my signature, our finance person, Mrs. DeBoer's signature. At that point, I sent back hey, what are the next steps? Haven't heard anything yet, but still in our budget. We still have some projects earmarked for it, so we are hoping it comes through.
So on to the next slide, these are projects that we have completed. So we refinished the hallway floor in the east hallway of Lee. That was part of our life safety checklist. So that's complete. We have replaced all the chillers in the district, 3 at Lee and 2 at Giles. Finished it, completed. We upgraded all fire panels and devices at both schools. We finished up the Lee conference room recently. Up in the front where the principal's office used to be is now a usable conference room. Our alarm lock system upgrade is still in process. So we're hoping to be finished up sometime at the end of possibly winter break. We had a slight issue with the secure door by the nurse's office here at Lee. It was egressing into the building and it was on the wrong side of the nurse's door. So we were able to move that wall out and flip the doorway to egress correctly towards the front of the building. Airflow down in the lunchroom. So when we did our admin upgrade, we also included in reducting of existing ductwork down to the lunchroom. The reason for that being is when they did the noise abatement, they never equipped the lunchroom with the correct conditioned air and also the makeup air. What you need makeup air is to keep the carbon out of the air that kind of recirculates everything. So you need to be at a certain percentage of outside fresh air to keep the space usable. So we are finished up with that portion of it. We did the preschool playground. That was a big hit. Those kids were waiting every day for that playground to be open. Them and the parents were very happy with everything. So we also did a little work in the motor rooms and other sped rooms with new flooring and a little bit of cleanup in those areas. And obviously you've seen the district offices and conference rooms. So we are all moved in and been using that for a few months now. Got anything else on that? No. We're going to move on to the future projects. Future projects, we want to continue to repair and replace tiles in areas where we have life safety issues, mainly around doorways where they kind of degrade from moisture and salt and people coming in and out of the doorways. Continue with classroom renovations. We've been doing painting and lighting upgrading during this year. We're working on stairwells here at Lee, certain hallways. So we're going to continue to work on those areas during the school year when students are not around after hours or before hours. We're upgrading lighting in all areas. So hopefully after our summer projects we'll be pretty close to being done at Lee except for the rented area from the Park District. We're looking into bathroom renovations at both schools, so we're kind of coming up with ideas for doing a little revamping of the bathrooms. We need to replace some stair treads at Giles. We're also looking into the possibility of taking out the stage at Giles There was some life safety violations. Some of them had been taken care of, but they were like minor type of life safety issues. We would like to actually take the whole stage down to open it up and kind of utilize that space. Kind of the problem we have right now is they ran electrical underneath the joist of the stage, so those would have to be rerouted. So we're looking into possible costs with moving the electricity and then decommissioning the stage area. There are still some doors, mainly classroom doors, that are not fire rated, that need to be replaced. Those would be on a life safety project, so we're looking into costs of replacement for those. ADA accessibility. That's a big thing at Lee. We have a lot of the lifts that are kind of getting towards the end of their life. We could have to do a lot of repair work on them. So in the near future, we're going to be looking into, with the architect, maybe a different way we can set up the ADA ramps, or maybe put in an elevator to service more areas than just the ramps do, but something in the works for the future. We have the brick repair and replace also at Giles, mainly on the column side and near the field. Let's go to summer projects. So this summer is kind of mainly going to be the same as the last 2 years. We have 12 rooms that we want to remodel. That includes wall work, paint, new LED lighting, motion censored, some storage space for the teachers, lockable cabinets. We also want to resurface the kindergarten hallway floor like we did the east hallway, matching, and possibly the landing between those two hallways. The tiles in that landing are degrading and falling apart, are also part of the life safety issues. So that would include third grade classrooms we would do, halls, painting and lighting in all of them. Any plumbing and repair that we find behind existing sink cabinets in those rooms. That would include any kind of abatement of asbestos behind it. We'd like to finish painting and basing the Lee lunchroom. Do a little bit of outdoor lighting in the Lee parking lot. So I've gotten together a plan for their solar powered parking lot lights. Instead of trying to trench and pull permitting, extensive permitting, and run the electric out there, I figured it might be cost effective to use solar powered lights. Like I saw them at the Grove the first time. So they're like industrial grade solar powered lights. So it might be a good alternative to a lot of money. Like I said, over the summer, we're looking into our asphalt repair replacement project and working with the village on, maybe some compensation. There's talk of the playground removal in the back of Lee. The old green playground would probably be done by the park district, but we would have to then beautify the area afterwards. The wood ceiling and the lintel at Giles, I believe we're hoping to get that into our infrastructure grant. And so we're trying to get as much as we can lined up for summertime, because it might seem like a long time, but it's really a short amount of time to get everything finished. Those kids start rolling back in the door before you know it. So that's about it for me. I don't know if you have any questions about anything that's going on, or past or present.
Can you just, Mr. Sellers, I think you just inadvertently skipped over the fire prevention. And I think that could be thought of as the panels. But actually, there is quite a large fire prevention project that we need to focus on in the hallways and with the cinder block.
So what we're trying to do with the fire prevention, there's certain areas of the school where they didn't bring the cinder blocks all the way up to the decking of the floor above them. So there's kind of a gap, and for fire code, they like to bring it all the way up to the decking and then fire caulking all the seams with the red fire caulk. So there's some custodial closets, some hallways. You might have seen out by our lost and found, there's some there. So there's some extensive brick repair that might need to be done underneath the life safety money that we're looking at, trying to get together a project for that.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Nancy.
Yeah, so Derek is just starting to get some idea of how extensive the work is. It's actually much more than we thought it was. And to start to get that plan together.
Yeah, I was sitting down the last few days looking over the life safety plan that was come up with STR. I think it was 4 or 5 years ago is when they finalized it, just to make sure that we have all the things that we wanted to get done in that project on the list.
Sounds like a pretty good, expensive plan. Have to start with the plan, so thank you. Thank you very much.
I would just like to also thank Mr. Sellers and his team. You know, Derek came to us with an extensive amount of skills, which is wonderful. He is also just grown so much on the skills that happen when you're sitting at the desk and planning things and scheduling and evaluating employees. And I just want to take this opportunity, since he's been presenting today, to share that with you on how well he's been doing and how much we've seen so much growth in him and his department. Now they've done such a great job. When you walk around the building, you really see the areas that they have touched, and hopefully we're going to see even more as we move forward.
Yes.
Get over to Giles.
Thank you.
So thank you. That's very nice. Thank you.
Moving on to behavioral prevention. Nothing to report. Negotiations and human resources.
Close session.
Closed session. On to finance. The presentation is City Hall.
Today is our final tax levy finance, and Mrs. DeVore will walk us through the presentation. There are many, as you notice in board book, many different things attached to this. She'll just walk through the presentation right now.
So the first part of this is our fund balances. This slide is very similar to last month. The only thing that's been updated on here is last month we had our fund balances as of October 31st. Now they're as of November 30th. And the far column is our fund balances as of the AFR, and that has stayed the same. And for November, we are in pretty good shape. The only thing that I would want you guys to pay attention to is for transportation, that our fund balance at the end of November was $78,000. If I project it out to December after we approve bills this month, we're at $50,000, which is just about enough to get us through a month and a half. However, the transportation claim is paid out 4 times a year. So normally we receive a payment from the transportation claim in January. And it's due by December 30th, but I looked back and historically we always get it mid-January. And then spring taxes are due March 4th, which means that we'll start collecting taxes in February. So we should be okay. But if something crazy happens, we might have to do a resolution to do a loan from working cash to transportation, just until we start collecting the tax dollars. But as long as we get the payment from the transportation claim in January and tax dollars start coming in February, we should be fine. But I just wanted to bring your attention to that just in case we're not. But I think we'll be fine. And then this is our levy. It is very similar to the tentative levy. We did make some slight changes. After looking at our fund balances at the end of November, I worked on projections for next year, started looking at where next year's budget might be, and looking at the future projects we have and where we need funds. We just tweaked it just a tiny bit. The total amount that we're levying is still the same as the tentative levy. We just changed a little bit of the placements. We lowered life safety a little bit. We raised the ed fund a little bit. But that's the only changes.
Do you want the next one?
Sure.
Let me make this small. Got it? Am I in the right side? Sorry about that. This one?
This one.
The one I made really big?
So this slide is, if you remember when we do the tax levy is what we're asking for. It doesn't necessarily mean that's the amount of money we're gonna get. The extension is the amount of money that we actually get. So the first column here is our 2023 tax extension. It's how much we got for 2023 for the tax dollars that were payable in 2024. So the subtotal before we take in debt service was $10,815,326. When we created the levy, we did a 4.96% increase over that. And it brings us over to like 11.35 million. But the actual, what we're projecting we will actually get is 11.2 million, which is 3.8% increase. So while we're gonna levy for 4.96, we're actually estimating to only get a 3.8% increase. 3.4 because that's what CPI is. And then that little bit extra is any new construction that we don't know about until we actually get the levy. Something new we have this year, not new, it's just additional than what we've had from the past a couple previous years. When we first took out the bond issue in April 2021, you have to submit a levy that's basically just for that bond to the county. And when you create that, you're putting in there, you're projecting what CPI is going to be for the future years over the life of the bond. And you're saying, this is how much money we're going to need to make our payments and our interest payments. Well, after that, CPI was 5% for 2 years, which no one would have projected. So the amount of money we originally asked for to pay back our bond payment is now lower than what we actually need. So all this levy is doing is asking for the additional amount that we will need in the bond service fund to pay that interest. I think next year, or the 2024 levy, it's a $2,000 increase, or $2,300 increase. So it's a small amount of money. It's not asking for a whole new bond or whole new debt issue. It's just asking to capture that CPI increase in order to pay the bond payments. I've looked at multiple board books or different school districts board packets this past month, and a lot of them actually have this because a lot of people went out for those bonds in 2021. It was a special school issue bond, and obviously no one would have known about the CPI increase. In front of all of you, you should have the audit, which the audit is separate from the levy, but it's also connected. The levy, the bond, and the audit are all connected to each other. So this year, for our audit, we once again had a clean audit, no findings, which we are very proud of and we're very happy about. We did have a good audit, but when I say we have a good audit, we always talk about, oh, the audit was great, we worked great with the auditors, but that's really the result of all of our work from all year long. People like Liliana and Tammy, who do so much work with finances by creating POs, and Tammy does the majority of the POs, but Liliana does everything for student services. Those two women safeguard your money like you have no idea. They work so hard and go over everything. If they didn't work as hard as they do or did what they do, I wouldn't have such a clean audit all the time. Because I can trust that they're doing things correctly. It makes my job so much easier. Another thing on there, in the notes, it talks about internal controls, and something that's changed in our notes from years previous is they now say for the size of our district, we're doing a good job with internal controls. Because that's something that we have consciously put in the last couple years. We've changed the role of my role, what is Tammy's role, different things Andrea does. So everybody's looking at different things and everybody's doing different steps. And it's so important when it comes to the finances, and it's so important to have a clean audit to make sure that you have those different internal controls that we've really worked hard in building in. Our reserves are in the place we want to be. Our fund balances are good. Our auditors also commented on that if you look at where we were in 2017 compared to now, both when they come into the district and ask for information, how they work with us, and what our finances look like compared to then, it's a different experience for them. So that's something we're very proud of. Our future goals are to continue where we're at, to continue with these clean audits, to continue working hard, continuing to be fiscally responsible and growing. And we will, since we have spent over $750,000 in federal funds, we will have a single audit, which we've had the past 2 years, that's a little bit separate and it's more extensive than the regular audit. They'll usually come out in February, and what they do during that time is they pick one program and they focus on just that. The past couple years it's been ESSER. This year I would think it would be either ESSER or IDEA. It's got to be a federal program where we spend a lot of money, where they can look into different things. They look into anywhere between 40 to 80 transactions and pull that many POs or payroll transactions. So it has to be one of ours that has more transactions for them to look at. And that's it. Does anybody have any questions for me?
Very good. Thank you very much.
If I could just add, I don't think Mrs. DeBoer really said enough about the internal controls. You know, that was something that, as she mentioned, it wasn't a finding, but it was always a comment. Because what you want in any business is you want multiple eyes and hands on something so that you are constantly checking things over and that there isn't any room for any error or any misappropriation of funds. So the way that we have set it up now, that we have multiple people in approvals, multiple people setting things up, looking at the bills, sending out the bills, where in the past that might have actually been only one person. So when you get asked that question, when the auditors come out, that is an important thing for you as a board to understand, is that we've put in these multiple layers of internal controls in order to safeguard the dollars that we are responsible for in the district. And finally, I thank Mrs. DeBoer for thanking Tammy and Liliana and all the other administrative assistants that work on POs and meet those deadlines of getting everything in, because that is so important on even just timesheets and getting up all of our information so we're on time. But truly it comes down to Mrs. DeBoer's dedication to putting together our financial package, to putting together everything that the auditors ask her for, which it is an intensive couple days, but if we didn't have such a well-run system, that would be much more difficult. She puts in above and beyond all the time. So thank you very much, Mrs. Moore, for this. They should be very proud of this clean audit. It's very nice job.
Thank you.
Communications, nothing to report. Nothing to report besides our action item, the memorandum of understanding with the park that will be voting on later. Unless there's anything else.
No, since that is a contract issue, that is in closed session, that discussion.
And now moving on to discussion items. Mrs. Music.
Great, thank you. I have four main areas to discuss tonight, business, policy, legislative, and future. So starting with the business area, we were informed at the beginning of this month that Gourmet Gorilla is terminating their contract with us. I didn't know this was possible, so I've learned a lot about that. They have a right to mid-year if they can show that they financially are not making as much gains as they had planned to make. They can actually terminate a contract. And it's the same issue that we've always talked about, where we have lower amounts of kids ordering at Giles, and quite frankly, it's because the food portions at Giles, an 8th grader and a kindergartner are getting the same amount of food. So trying to work through that with ISB and come up with an emergency lunch contract. We have approximately 350 children that are qualified to receive free lunch. So we do need to make sure we have a lunch contract, lunch service in place when Gourmet Gorilla leaves us, which right now could be January, February. So I've been working with ISB on some options, looking at a new food company for the remainder of the year, and then we would do a new bid for 25 and 26 and beyond. I truly believe that sometimes with difficult times come good things. So I am actually looking forward to something good happening for our students during the lunch hour. So I'll have more about that next month. I probably will be bringing you a contract at that point with the new lunch service. So the Superintendent Advisory Committee met the first week in December. We went through the school report card data, similar presentation to what I shared with the board, just maybe tweak things a little bit differently. I will share with you the piece that they were the most talkative about was the per pupil expenditure, which also the board was shared also was very low, our per pupil expenditure, and looking at what other districts are spending and offering. So we're going to continue looking at our programs in January, our school programs, our services. They shared with me that they were not aware of the school improvement plans, so we're going to look at those. We're going to look at the multi-tiered systems of support, our multilingual and our special education programs. I think that the committee's going very well, and I'm really enjoying working with them. I did keep it to 62 minutes this past month, which was good. Preparing for 25-26 school year. Right now we're looking at our student projections. We are going to be meeting over the winter break on staffing needs and our staffing changes, and also discussing our school schedules. I can't tell you right now, one thing that we would truly like to add on at Giles is an interventionist. So we're trying to look at our data and see what, if we could afford that position, and then if we could, what that would look like for our middle school children. I'm also going to be prepared for you in January registration timeline, discussion on curriculum fees, kindergarten changes. Currently, right now, the kindergarten fees, not the tuition, which is the curriculum fees, have been a little bit less, just due to a lot of the things that they have in their classrooms are things that aren't as, kind of our staples that stay in there year after year after year, so their consumables aren't as high priced and as costly needed as the other grades. So we have had $170 in the curriculum fees for kindergarten. However, the program is changing this next year, actually in kindergarten, first and second grade, but we're talking about rolling it out in kindergarten. So Super Kids, which is our program, which some of you may be aware of and know some of the characters in Super Kids, it's a phonics-based program that works on the characters on the letters, and they are changing some of the characters. So we'll be looking at quite an extensive change on our kindergarten fees for next year. I don't have the amount yet, but right now it'll probably be closer to the 250 amount that first grade is. What I will be suggesting. We also have a draft calendar that I'll be bringing to you in January as well. One thing that I do want to point out before I move on to the next slide is we're really having a difficult time with registration as far as people doing it in a timely manner. We open registration in April every year, and as you know, it's an online system now. It is not very taxing on people, and it does involve uploading residency forms. Good news is inside our current portal, PowerSchool, we are looking at making a slight change in that you can upload your forms right there when you actually do the forms, which is great. It'll just have a little box where it says upload your ID, upload your mortgage or lease statement, upload your bill, so that we don't then have to go into the forms and then go into the email and try to find them and match them. And many times people don't turn in their residency forms, so then we have to reach back out to people and say, please turn in your forms, and it kind of becomes a mess. So we're looking at streamlining that process, which will be great for families. However, what I'm suggesting to put together for you for January is a late registration fee. We hit the first week of August and it had 120 families now registered. While we assumed the families were coming back, and in some cases they did, some cases they didn't, that scheduling piece at Giles, the scheduling piece at Lee, really all depends on that, and the registrar to keep up with trying to then register 120 families August 1st is just overwhelming. So we do currently have right now an early bird fee for paying your fees. So what I'm thinking right now is that we have a late registration fee, which Penoyer does have also, and Cambridge. So I don't have that all worked out yet, but that is something that I'm thinking about right now. We could look at another discount on an early bird, but I just think early bird would be too much of it. And maybe it would be better to just go to this, if you don't continue or finish this by August 1st, then you have another late fee to that. So that we can mitigate any issues. As you recall, our registrar, she's here all year. If we can get most of that done in June and July, and then Mr. Biecki, Dr. Raviola can be ready to get the schedules out, which they work on, and the child schedule takes 5-6 months to put together. It's very labor intensive, but to be able to get that together and out so that they're not moving people the first week of school, which we did quite a bit of this year. In little things here and there, advisories, and moving around PE classes, and such. Any questions about that before we move on? The press policy updates. Update 116, we have on our agenda tonight for approval on second read. And then 117, we have on approval for first read. And then we would do second read in January. There's nothing really in 117 that gave me pause. I did give you a very detailed, updated list of that in board book. Any others have any questions about 117? And great news, we have a little bit of a break from press. They're not going to come out with 118 until March or April. So that's good. That'll give us a little time to work on our own review as Mr. Trebizio mentioned. We'll be looking at the 300s tonight and then the 400s at our next meeting. As far as our own district policy review, we have the 100s being approved tonight on first read. January will be the second read. We've talked about those quite a bit. In the 200s, there aren't any other changes. If you recall, those were the changes of the compliance and the non-compliance director. Those are all in Press 116 already. And then for the 300s, I am not recommending any changes for those, but I didn't know if any members thought there was any need for changing that.
Just gonna note, the succession of authority, do we have that documented anywhere?
Correct, we do not. And that's why I wrote that note in there, that, we have a plan of who reports to whom, and all of that goes back to the superintendent, but we don't have that succession in there at all. I did note that on 3:7. We have a chain of command currently, but not necessarily a succession of authority, but this is something we're on. I can add to. We probably should have something. Other than that, most of 300s is the superintendent or the general school administrator section, and most of it is made up of like, when you are looking for a superintendent, these are some suggested things that you can look at. They're not mandatory things that many things in policy are, but this is just what you as a board can keep in consideration when searching for a superintendent. I'm not sure there's anything you want to take out of there. It's not necessarily saying you have to follow everything in there. It's just good business. Any questions about policy? Vision 2030. You may have received some emails about this in your district email, but Vision 2030 is the promise of public education through the Illinois State Board of Education. This is after Vision 2020, and this is the vision that it took all of the stakeholders that are in the district, and here is the list of everyone. So these were the ROEs like West 40, the superintendent groups, all of your school board groups, your principal groups, like all the finance groups, everyone got together and said, what do we want the vision for schools, public schools to look like in 2030? And they identified that since 2000, the mandated things in a school have doubled, like literally doubled. Unfortunately, the funding for everything that is mandated did not double along with it. But if you look at this particular slide that shows the Illinois School Code in 2000 and the Illinois School Code in 2024, you can see it has literally doubled. So they have identified some areas as a goal for Illinois to work towards, being more future focused, allowing more time for college and career exploration, enhancing school safety, attracting and retaining high quality educators, and then of course promoting curriculum and instruction. Put that all together into a shared accountability where everyone in a district, in a school, everyone that works towards educating students is working together in order to make it the best place that it possibly can be. They've identified 4 key goals. Number 1 is keeping students safe. Number 2 is keeping high quality educators in front of children, in front of the students. If we don't have the high quality educators there, we don't have the high quality levels of education. Number 3, well, you may think enhancing post-secondary success doesn't involve us, but it certainly does. You know, we have been in partnership with Ridgewood and have worked on our career and college. Dr. Rabiola and Mr. Biecki have worked on that plan out with Ridgewood. We actually are mandated to have that from 6th grade and up, but we actually have it from kindergarten on, to work on our career and college success and how we can prepare students for their careers or their colleges when they leave District 80 and go on to Ridgewood. And then it's a general goal of like improving, measuring what is working. So that assessment piece. What is the best way to assess students? Is IER, the way that IER works, the best way, that it's only one time? We don't see a growth piece in that as much as you see in something like iReady, like Dr. Rabiola shared with us tonight, where those students took that test in the fall took that test again in the winter and we can see that growth, we can look and dial into where the students are and see that to make change in instruction tomorrow. Not receive something in June of a test that we took in April or March and try to make change. There's value in it, but trying to measure growth with students that we can make a change on is really what we want to focus on. So this is just a little piece about Vision 2030. There are not specific topics that are involved in it. It's not like the state of Illinois saying, we want you to pass this or cover this or do this. It's just more saying, we want to do things that keep kids safe. We want to do things that think about post-secondary. We want to put educators in front of our students, and we want to improve their assessment process. The ISB is asking every board to pass a resolution to continue and work towards following Vision 2030. I don't have that on our agenda tonight. I just wanted to bring this up in discussion with you and share some additional information with you before our January meeting so that we can make an informed decision if we want to pass that resolution. It doesn't mean that we get more funding. It doesn't mean that we are now stuck into, oh, we don't want to do this, what the state is telling us, although I will remind you, there are only 6 areas in the state that families can opt out in education. But it isn't even like that. It's just saying we want to take these 4 goals and move forward to be our vision. Simple.
So these goals, one thing that I hear from other parents that's a concern is literacy rates. So when you say that there's like no specific topic, like I'm reading this and it says, you know, instructional flexibility to meet the unique needs of local communities. So like if we have like low literacy, does this mean like this, we're gonna dedicate to tackling that or like? Sure. Okay.
We always want to look at our assessments and then make decisions, like the money follow whatever would be the best approach.
Okay.
Illinois did just pass a new literacy plan, you know, that started this year. But yeah, you can individualize how a school focuses. As I mentioned to you, looking at needing an interventionist for Giles would be one of those ways we would individualize taking that measurement or that assessment and then putting high quality educators in front of the children.
And you're gonna give us some more information for?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is just a brief introduction.
Kind of general. So
Yeah, it is. It is.
Okay.
I didn't want to go very long and very deep tonight. I just wanted to give you a little overview of it. And even if we decided in January we wanted more information, we weren't ready, that would be okay too. And even if we don't do it at all, that's okay too. That is, I want you to make an informed decision and know what it is we're looking at. So this particular PowerPoint that I'm showing you right now is from ISB. There are different ones that I can share with you that go much deeper into what their 4 goals are and how they want to bring that about. The district did follow and do a resolution many years ago into Vision 2020, but that doesn't mean we need to continue. It's not like we're going to lose funding. It's not like we're going to have any issues. This is just one of the things that the Illinois State Board of Education would like us to have a discussion about.
So now, is this totally independent of the governor's mandate for 2027?
As far as kindergarten? No, this is all still part of that. That mandate's out there. You know, that's what, when we talk about the unfunded mandates right here, that's part of these mandates. That's coming, right now we haven't heard anything changes, although Mrs. DeBoer does sit on that committee. And she's, actually the newest information that has come out to the committee, not to any of us yet, actually was a suggestion of hers, so. We are seeing her. Actually, yeah, we're seeing some, you know, you hear about those committees in the state and you don't know what they really look like, so it's been nice to have her part of it. So that's one of those mandates. As you may recall, I've been speaking to you about the Cook County Paid Leave Act. Now, there are two paid leave acts that were passed. One was passed in the state of Illinois, and the state of Illinois' Paid Leave Act exempts school districts. So what this Paid Leave Act says is, after you work a certain amount of hours, you get a certain amount of hours off as paid leave. You work 40 hours, you get an hour. And when you take that paid leave, you can take it at any time, in any increment, any space you want. We do give very generous leave through contracts, either the CBA with the teachers, contracts with administrators, or through board policy, which is with our staff members, our hourly staff members, our exempt staff members. So we feel that this is not needed in a school district and actually can cause a lot of harm in our school district. Because right now, we limit the times that leave can be taken. For example, this Friday is our last day before winter break. We don't allow personal days on that day. And if we were following this Cook County Paid Leave Act, we would actually not be able to say when people can take time off or not. And that would really cause a lot of financial problems for us. As far as getting subs, we could be in a situation where we have so many people out, we wouldn't be able to open the school that day. So we were hoping that Cook County would exempt schools, however, they did not. So in the Illinois Constitution, when a state and when a local, being Cook County, law are different, it is up to local control to make a decision on that. So the village of Norwich has already made a decision earlier in the year to exempt their employees. We were hoping that Cook County was just going to exempt schools. However, they did not. So the village of Norwich and the village of Howard Heights will be running special meetings in December, because this has to be done before January 1st, that will exempt school districts. We want to thank them for their quick and swift work on this. We've been working with the presidents of Howard Heights and the president and the trustees of Norwich and the trustees of Howard Heights on getting this done so that our school districts can be exempt. And again, it's not an attempt of not giving people paid leave. We're actually very generous, and we work with people on leaves and what they need. This just would be a burden of a situation that we don't need in schools. So we're involved with this with Union Ridge, with Neuer, and with Ridgewood. And just want to thank the villages for getting together so quickly for us and running a special meeting. Very excited about that. And they will pass a resolution to exempt schools. Last month, I was asked by a board member to have a conversation about changing the start time of our regular meetings to 6 o'clock from 7 o'clock. So I've included that on here. I don't know if you all want to have a discussion about that, if you have an opinion on that, or if you are good leaving us at 7. It does not matter to me.
I would like to leave at 7.
Sure, but I've been very used to 7 and some people work and home life. I thought there was times where we could do 6, but often those times for special meetings, it's just nice to have that buffer hour. I had, if we did certain special meeting right before, but that's all.
I would agree with that. I think if we need to, like, sometimes we start at 6:30 to do something. 6:30 is doable, but if we're already starting at 6, I think then like pushing back to 5:30 or 5 to start would be not possible. So I think it allows
or 7, because we do have, like we had tonight, where families are coming in, so it's very difficult for them to get home, get them fed, and dress up in some cases, and get over here by, 6, so. But we I think it's really important that we validate that these kids have this accomplishments, and the only way we can do it as a board is if they're here, so.
That's great. We'll leave it at 7 o'clock moving forward. Thank you. Everyone good with that? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to skip over you.
I'd like it at 6, but okay.
I mean, if you'd like, we can take a vote on it next
No,
month.
it's but people that like it up for
And finally, it is going to be the season of your statement of economic interests. You'll see this in your email coming soon. This is something you are, as board members and as administrators, are mandated to complete every year. This basically says that you are not involved financially with any of the inner workings of the district. You don't have a contract with the district, you're not running in, filtering in the money through the district. So you will be seeing this coming through soon. Usually it's written as a statement of economic interest or SEI in the email. If you see that one is not spam, that's something you need to complete. The date to complete it is not till May 1st. They give you a very, very healthy window, but they do charge the district financially if it's not done by May 1st. And that does become a finding in our audit if we have a member that does not complete their statement of economic interest. So it's coming soon.
For someone such as me, where I will no longer be on the board by May 1st, do I still complete that?
Yes, you do.
Okay.
Thank you for asking that. That's your last one, maybe. Who knows? Yeah, you never know.
That's right.
And that's my report.
Do you know the date of that special meeting in the village?
I do not. But as soon as I get that meeting, that date, I can let you know.
What, the calendar says December 23rd, but it didn't say like what it's for. So I was wondering.
On the village?
It would probably be one of their regular meetings, which is only Wednesday.
The President Conference wanted to do a special meeting. They were done with meetings this year, so they were.
There's one at 5:30 on the 23rd, so I'm assuming that's.
That's what but I'll verify it for you. With, President Conference. Do you want the Howard Heights also, or just the Norwich?
Okay, on to consent agenda. I need a motion to approve 14A through 14I. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Amanda, Lauren, roll call, please.
Mrs. McPhillips? Yes. Mrs. Gerbach Barnfield?
Yes.
Mrs. Theodore?
Yes.
Mrs. Deck?
Yes.
Mrs. Lala?
Yes.
Mr. Berardi?
Yes.
Mr. Trabuzio?
Yes. Motion passes. On to action items. I need a motion to approve 15A, consider approval of the resolution authorizing a supplemental tax levy to pay the principal and interest on outstanding limited bonds of the district. Can we get a motion?
Second.
Who's the first? Oh, Amanda. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Theodore?
Yes.
Mrs. McPhillips? Yes. Mrs. Gerbach Barnfield? Yes. Mrs. Deck?
Yes.
Mrs. Lala?
Yes.
Mr. Berardi?
Yes.
Mr. Trabuzio?
Yes, the motion passes. 15B, consider approval of the 2024 tax levy resolution and certificate of the tax levy. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Renzo, Maria, any discussion? Can I get a roll call?
Mr. Berardi?
Yes.
Mrs. Lala?
Yes.
Mrs. Theodore?
Yes.
Mrs. McPhillips? Yes. Mrs. Gerbach Barnfield?
Yes.
Mrs. Deck?
Yes.
Mr. Trabuzio?
Yes. The motion passes. 15C, consider approval of the resolution to levy 2024 taxes for certain purposes. Can I get a motion? Maria and who?
I'll second.
And Maria and Renzo, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Lala? Mr. Berardi?
Yes.
Mrs. Theodore?
Yes.
Mrs. McPhillips? Yes. Mrs. Erbach Barfield?
Yes.
Mrs. Deck?
Yes.
Mr. Trabuzio?
Yes, the motion passes. 15D, consider approval of the resolution to instruct the Cook County Clerk how to appropriate 2024 tax levy extension reduction. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Amanda and Lauren, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. McPhillips? Yes. Mrs. Erbach Barfield?
Yes.
Mrs. Theodore?
Yes.
Mrs. Deck?
Yes.
Mrs. Lala?
Yes.
Mr. Berardi?
Yes.
Mr. Trabuzio?
Yes, the motion passes. 15E, consider acceptance of the fiscal year 2024 district audit and annual finance report. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
That was Molly and Amanda. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Deck?
Yes.
Mrs. McPhillips? Yes. Mrs. Theodore?
Yes.
Mrs. Erbach Barfield?
Yes.
Mrs. Lala?
Yes.
Mr. Berardi?
Yes.
Mr. Trabuzio?
Yes, the motion passes.
Thank you. I'm sorry, those had to be individuals.
Board comments, anyone?
Yes.
Well,
I have one comment and one, it's more of a question, but, last month I was reminded that there was such a thing, board appreciation, right? I just wanted to thank the teacher who took the time and sent a nice email. I appreciate the kind words, so I just wanted to thank the teacher who did that. Secondly, it was a question, any updates in regards to the SRO?
Yes, thank you for reminding me of that. So Norwich just swore in 3 officers this week. Unfortunately, that puts them at 38, which is their number that they need to function. They need a 39. So they are hopeful that in their next round, which will be early in the winter, they will have a person for us that will then obviously go through training, and literally we're probably looking at the beginning of next school year. But they're hopeful. As long as everybody stays in the academy and finishes and does everything they're supposed to do.
Gotcha. So that's still on their plan in regards to the.
Absolutely, yep.
And if for some reason they come back and say, hey, listen, we're really struggling to get some, we can go to a different department, I know we want to keep you, is that something we can do?
No, I don't think so, but let me ask our legal just in case, because that is our municipality, so I'm not sure if we can just get a.
I would say like Harvard Heights, at least.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I'd
okay.
have to check that.
Okay.
But I will definitely give an update for you. They do truly want us to have this position in front.
Any other board comments?
He did share with me also, Chief Goss, that once we have it, then we have it, and he won't take it away at any point. He won't, even if they get down below their 38 number, at some point they won't pull that back.
Gotcha, okay. Sorry, so if we budgeted for it this year,
Correct.
and we do not use it, we can carry it over, and it would kind of like,
Yep.
we every year then?
Sure. School budgets are a little different than your home budget. It's not like we have the money, you know, it goes into reserve, and yes, we can budget for it once again, which we would continue to do. That's budgeted in 20. We also have looked at a little bit of use of that money, like we had paid for some support at the beginning of the year with traffic at Lee. where we had police officers here the first couple of weeks, so we did use a little bit of that money, not much, but we could look at other alternatives if we're for sure not using anything of that.
That was paying for the officers working overtime.
Correct. I actually don't remember if they stayed after their shift or came in before their shift. I'm sorry, I don't remember, but it was one of the two. And I will say, I think that has really helped because I jinx myself here. Traffic at Lee, while we do have concerns that happen, but in the overall flow, like I think we trained parents probably could use some help in January depending on where snow goes. Because you know, as you add on that layer of snow, sometimes you have areas where people can't park where they used to park, or they can't pull over where they used to pull over. So we'll have to take a look at that as well. As Mr. Sellers was mentioning earlier, we have been in communication with the village, and we are going to be meeting with them in January, not only looking at the aprons for replacement, but also looking at the overall parking, because they have an interest, as we do, of changing around a little bit of that parking in Cullen at Giles, which I think we've talked about a few times, adding in handicap spot, a couple visitor spots, and then a couple of movement things here at Lee with the space across the street and then going down the street, down Portland at Lee, which they're interested in having some conversations with us about.
Has it helped with that new at Lee? I see that where they have the drop-off line and then they allow cars to continue going on. Has that helped? I mean, it seems
Yes.
like it's been working pretty well.
Yeah, and during that, when we trained people on that, we were all out there been training people, and that's been going pretty well. Don, who is the crossing guard over there on that side of the building, does a really great job. You know, it's very difficult, and I often, if you read what I write in the tracts, I often have to remind people that to be kind, because we are one community. We need to be kind to each other, and I know that 15 minutes can be stressful at the end of the day or when you're dropping off, but we need to be kind to our neighbors and not block their driveways. But we also need to be kind to each other and be patient on that drop off in the morning. And if you would get to Lee a little earlier, that door opens at 7:55 and there's no traffic at that point. Pretty good. You try to get here at 8:12, yep, you're gonna have a hard time, and you're already late at that time. So getting here a little earlier is always the key.
Question about the SRO. You mentioned that this is like once we have it, we have it. But given that it's a position that requires specialized training once they're hired by the police force, should there be turnover in that position, then you would expect like a gap, right? So that they can get somebody through that SRO training.
Depends on how the turnover is.
Okay.
If it's something that we know that this individual is maybe shifting out of this position into a different position, that we may be able to get someone in there beforehand. Any type of quick movement, sure, then we may have a gap for training. There is a whole training program for an SRO. You don't just take a police officer and but there's a great deal of training.
How long, do you know how long that training is?
I think it's about 3 months.
I have a question.
And then it's continual.
Just a quick question about the parking at Giles with the parking spaces and like the village was involved. Like, is that done? Because I want to say, personal experience, I was at Giles having to drop off stuff for PTA. There are no visitor spots. It was on a day of street cleaning. I had nowhere to park. And it took a long time to get stuff so everyone's kids could have stuff for the workshop. And I didn't have anywhere to park.
Which went very well. And it was sold.
But yeah, it was very fun. But also, I just want to say, it was a terrible experience trying to park. Also, when the kids are coming in and out from Anderson Hall in the evenings, dodging traffic into the cars, that big gray van that's always parked there, I just want to say it's in the way. I know it's in a spot, but it's in the way.
So 2 things. I think what we need are visitor spaces on Cullen. That part is not finished yet. That's what I'm talking about, that we'll need about. Because you're no longer going to the front on Oregon. You're coming right out here in Cullinan. Why wouldn't we want to have a couple of visitor spots there?
Because there were other parents that are like picking up their kids and they're,
Makes sense.
get a ticket.
Over here at Lee, they pull up on the apron, which we asked for the out of club, and I don't want anyone ever parked in front of school, because that's not comfortable. So some spots even identified out here, spaces that are the lines through them, like you don't park in there, and then some spots at Giles. As far as the parking goes there, those spots that are right there by the gym are the ones that are identified and the signs were taken off.
And that's a permanent
10
solution.
spaces for now. For now.
It's for now.
That's where we landed. We do. But the village just wanted to talk with us about it as well and, put together a comprehensive plan of everything. Yeah. To be honest with you, that all happened so quickly, that I think we just didn't have that.
I don't think they were expecting the reaction that they did from those 3 residents.
Yeah, so I think we can put together a good plan that allows for that. I do think those visitor spots are very important. Not anyone parking for a long period of time, but when you're in and out, dropping off.
I mean, I don't want to be rude to the people in my community, but
I'm not saying you are.
children safety, so.
And I think, we talked about the lighting over there, but it's
So when we looked at the lighting over there, I don't
the
know.
lighting
Mr.
right in
Sellers
front of the
wanted-
school is fine, the
Talk about that.
street is not.
That's what we identified. It's not the school lighting, it's the street lighting, which is not our property. So we've included that with I'm sorry.
Yeah, we'll talk with them about it when we go over a plan to resurface over there, because if we are gonna try and install some lighting along there, it doesn't make sense to resurface it and then dig it up and then resurface it again. So we'll see if they can provide some feedback on possible street lighting on the parking side over there.
Anything else?
Okay, need a motion to adjourn to closed session to discuss the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees, and review of closed session minutes. Do I have a motion? Amanda, Laura, roll call, please.
Mrs. McPhillips? Yes. Mrs. Erbach Barnfield?
Yes.
Mrs. Theodore? Yes. Mrs. Deck?
Yes.
Mrs. Lala?
Yes.
Mr. Berardi?
Yes.
Mr. Trabuzio?
Yes. Motion passes. We will go to closed session in 10 minutes. We are now back in open session at 10:15. We will move on to action item 18A. Consider approval of memorandum of understanding with the North Park District for school care. 19 personnel action items: employment. Consider approval of Eileen Peters, lead school administrative assistant. B, consider approval of Melissa Bulo, Giles School assistant principal. B2, consider approval of FMLA leave for Brittany Keith. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Amanda and Lauren, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. McPhillips? Yes. Mrs. Erbach Barnfield?
Yes.
Mrs. Theodore?
Yes.
Mrs. Deck?
Yes.
Mrs. Lala? Mr. Berardi?
Yes.
Mr. Trabuzio?
Yes, the motion passes. Board meeting reflection. I need a motion to adjourn this meeting at 10:16. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay.